So apparently the lead juror was like enamored with Bob Durst, looked up to him because he was wealthy, became best buddies with him, which like you literally got him off for murdering his previous best friend and you want to be best friends with this guy? Like, are you okay? Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. Bob Durst is back. That's right, the Jinx Part 2 has started airing. Now, for those of you who don't know, the Jinx Part 1 was a true crime documentary series that came out in 2015 following the life and the deaths of Robert Durst. Now, that's a very punny sort of catchphrase that they attached to season 1. When they say the deaths of Robert Durst, it was the idea that everywhere Robert Durst kind of called home, a murder followed him, but somehow he got away with it each time. Now, season 1 of The Jinx was fantastic. Everyone knows this, all right? This is the gold standard of true crime documentary. This was crushing it. This was all the way back in 2015, but if you watch it now, it still feels current and fresh. And it is even more captivating because after it aired, it led to the arrest and conviction of Bob Durst for one of the murders.
It's the judgment and sentence of this court, Mr. Durst, that you be imprisoned, that is, life in prison, without the possibility of parole.
It's a far cry from the real estate mogul who is the subject of HBO's huge hit documentary, The Jinx. LA prosecutors say Durst shot and killed Susan Berman in her Beverly Hills home to stop her from cooperating with police, investigating the 1982 disappearance and presumed slaying of his wife, Kathy. He has never been charged in her disappearance and has denied having anything to do with it. Police came to arrest him in 2015, just as the finale of The Jinx was about to be seen. On the stand, the 78-year-old denied murdering Berman, but admitted if he had, he would lie about it.
Did you kill Susan Berman?
No.
Do you know who did?
No, I do not.
If in fact you had killed her, would you tell us?
No.
So in this weird meta way, this true crime documentary, season 1 actually became part of the story. The kind of pivotal discovery at the end of season 1, the letter that the director and interviewer of The Jinx Part 1 got access to was used as compelling evidence. On top of that, when Bob Durst snuck off to the bathroom with a hot mic on and basically mumbled to himself confessing to the murders, that was also used in court. So yeah, needless to say, the first season airing was a massive deal, and this season is here to go through the fallout of that first season. And here's the thing, it's been 10 years, you're sort of sitting there going like, oh, is this just a cash grab? Do we really need this? But after watching this first episode, I am happy to report we absolutely do need this. This is absolutely sensational reality TV, true crime TV, whatever you want to call it. So captivating, so thrilling. And if you thought season 1 was good as this like metatextual true crime documentary and the way it actually impacted the real world, this is just as fascinating. So let's get into this episode. All right, so the first episode of season 2 opens with this title card that says, the day before the finale of The Jinx aired, Bob Durst was arrested. Absolutely wild that as that final episode was airing, Bob Durst was in custody. Basically, as his world publicly was falling in on itself due to what he confessed to in that last episode, he was also getting arrested. Absolutely nuts. It's so cool because we get to see the detectives basically ask all the questions we would have loved to ask while watching that first season. So the detective, while interviewing Bob Durst, is literally saying, why'd you do the documentary? Like, why would you open yourself up to more investigation? To which Bob Durst replies, I'm still putting that together in my own mind. I also love when they talk to one of Bob Durst's lawyers who basically says to the camera, if Bob Durst just kept his mouth shut, he would still be free today. Absolutely wild. Also a great moment where we see a flashback to the director of season 1 and 2 talking in an interview saying there will be no doubt as to whether Bob Durst is innocent or not after the final episode airs. That's such a bold claim to make as a director. The idea that this director was just sitting there at the peak of the Jinx hype being like, yeah, there is an amazing payoff here and it has actual legal ramifications. Absolutely nuts. One of the most juicy tidbits we find out is that Bob watched the show live as it aired and used to call the New York Times editor from the first season. Absolutely insane. So apparently Bob Durst just used to call this guy and be like, yeah, they don't really have too much on me. Not that big of a deal. Absolutely wild. I love this quote here. This guy took extensive notes detailing their conversations. I love Bob's reaction to the first 2 episodes that are talking about his missing wife, Kathy, where he says, it's as if they expect me to say, oh, I put Kathy over there on that lamppost. It just shows how interesting and weird Bob Durst's brain is, which was kind of the highlight and the central focus of that first season. We also find out that when episode 5 started to air, which got into the whole cadaver note, which is what got Bob Durst caught, he actually stopped calling this New York Times editor, got really cagey, and then started to flee the country. And the New York Times editor says, yeah, I got the vibe that he was about to go on the run. But next, in one of the most unhinged and wild revelations of the documentary, we find out that Bob Durst started being buddy-buddy with the lead juror from the case of Morris Black, the man he murdered in self-defense. Absolutely insane. So apparently the lead juror was like enamored with Bob Durst, looked up to him because he was wealthy, became best buddies with him, which like you literally got him off for murdering his previous best friend and you want to be best friends with this guy? Like, are you okay? Apparently this juror that helped get Bob Durst off for the murder of Morris Black is now seen there helping him evade the law. Absolutely insane. The police go to this hotel that Bob Durst was staying at, and apparently there's a clearly staged memory box placed on the bed full of photos of Kathy, his missing wife, and Susan, the woman he is in trouble for murdering. I love the idea that Bob Durst is seen there in this Machiavellian way, being like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna plant evidence showing how much I love my 2 dead wives. Absolutely insane. But then in one of my favorite juicy tidbits of the documentary, apparently when the FBI showed up and actually found where Bob Durst was staying, which was at another hotel, an old lady comes up, seeing Bob Durst getting arrested by the FBI and goes, oh, it's Bob Durst from the Jinx. And this was as the show was airing. Like, I just love the idea that his entire world was just crumbling in on itself all at once. In the back end, we actually see that Andrew Jarecki, so the director of the movie about Bob Durst starring Ryan Gosling, the director of season 1 and season 2, and the interviewer in season 1 and season 2, actually held a screening of the final episode for prosecutors involved, investigators involved, law enforcement involved, and the victims' families. He like had them over to his house and went, hey, let's all watch the final episode of this show I made about this psycho that ruined all your lives. And the thing I love about this is you find out that everyone has a sense of humor. They're all sitting there laughing at different points at how unhinged Bob Durst is, how shitty his excuses are, how weird and off kilter he is. And I absolutely love the idea that they're watching the show the way a lot of millennials and Gen Z people watch that first season of The Jinx, where yes, it's absolutely horrifying and dark and twisted, but there's also so much humor in just how weird and off and quirky Bob Durst is. And the idea that these people that are actually involved in the case, even victims of the case, are seen there laughing at how whack Bob Durst is, absolutely wild. And they had like everyone there. Like they had Cody and Janine there. Like they got everyone for this final episode. And rightfully so, because that last episode was absolutely fucking insane when he snuck off to the bathroom and like confessed the crime. Wild. I love that when they play the section of Bob Durst murmuring to himself that he killed all those people, you hear the old guy in the background go, holy fuck. You know, they're all sitting there knowing that they are witnessing history. They are watching someone tell on themselves in a legally binding way. I just love seeing all these super serious, well-esteemed officials watching this original season as a comedy. It is the way that people at home watch that first season, at least to an extent, but everyone's vibe and mood drops in that last episode. The final sort of exciting tidbits we get in this episode are insight into the lawyers. So Bob Durst actually gets his original lawyer back, and I absolutely love the justification here. With mad big dick energy, just sits back and goes, yeah, well, it is hard to argue with success. Absolutely nuts. We also see Bob in jail talking to his wife. Now, I have to say, the wife was one of my favorite parts of season 1. Now, she is an awful person, but as Bob's wife, like as a wife, she goes kind of hard. Like she's really supportive. She's really looking out for him. And I love her sitting there being like, you need to get this lawyer and this lawyer, not this lawyer. I don't trust him. Your brother's shitty. She really backs Bob. Yes, you get a vibe that she also cares about his money, but like she goes pretty hard. The next lawyer we are introduced to is actually a new lawyer, a new character in the Jinx, and that is the lawyer Chenoff. He is a celebrity lawyer, and he has this amazing quote where he says, the more famous you are, the tougher it is. The common folk take it as a chance to get even with the rich person. So he has the mindset that all these rich, famous people he defends are merely the attack of poor people and their envy of rich people. Absolutely insane mentality, but like a perfect lawyer for Bob Durst. Now, this episode ends with a montage of Bob Durst making a bunch of calls to friends and family trying to look for support. And my favorite little quote from here is when someone says to him, why on earth did you do Jarecki? Why on earth did you do the Jinx? And that's sort of the core focus of this first episode, is just the aftermath of Bob doing the Jinx and basically telling on himself. And everyone's sitting there going, why the fuck did you do that? You got away with all these murders. What are you doing? I would be asking myself that question, but god damn it, does it make for great TV. So that's my review for for episode 1 of season 2 of The Jinx. Please subscribe. I'll be covering every episode, and I'll also be doing a season 1 recap for those who haven't seen it or those who need a refresher going into this season 2. That should be out this week or early next week. Thank you so much for watching, and have a lovely day.